Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 PM Pacific time in the United States, which is 10 AM in Australia or 1 AM if you're in the UK. Remember, if you miss the live streams, you can catch up with the premiere event streams on a Friday and Saturday at 2 PM Pacific time in the US, which is 7 AM in Australia or 10 PM if you're in the UK. Hope all you guys and girls are well. Smurfberry Barbecue says, you accidentally deleted your collision mesh and have to make it again. He's not referring to me, he's referring to himself. Thank you for the host, Smurfberry, I appreciate it. Actually, I meant to mention it yesterday. You did a comparison between Smurfberry is creating a sci-fi looking plant, and you posted pictures of it in UDK as well as UE4. Why UDK? Because UDK is quite old now. That's Unreal Engine 3, by the way, if anyone doesn't know. Just curious as to why you did a comparison between UE3 and UE4. Just curious, more than anything. So, we are going to continue working on the Temple of the Winds, which is a 3D model we're making in 3D Studio Max. We are texturing in Substance Painter, and we are going to do beauty renders of using Eon View. Smurfberry says, the game team I'm giving it to is using UDK, and I'm saving them some hassle by setting up a package for it myself. Okay. I'm assuming they're using UDK because that's what they've used in the past and they don't want to transfer the project to UE4. Maybe. Because, yeah, it's not easy to do because I know because I created that level in UDK, had to remake it when I went to UE4. So, okay, fair enough. That answers my question. Actually, I just want to check the images that you posted. Let me just look for them here. So many chats going on. I think it might be in the gallery. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong spot. Yeah, here we go. I just want to copy this link and check it out. This is the comparisons that you posted between UDK and UE4 of the plant. Anyone that doesn't know who I am, go to phildoes3d.com and you can read up about me on my website. There's links to my social media as well. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of have a look at the difference between the two engines. So this one, I believe, is UE3, and this one on the right is UE4. Because I noticed the difference when I went from working with UDK to working with UE4. The lighting in UE4 is much nicer. As you can probably tell with the shadowing around here, it's a lot nicer in UE4. But I have to say, that still looks pretty good for UE3. I mean, the texturing here on the base of the plant still looks really nice. Because again, I think Smurfberry was talking about UE3 uses specular and what's the other one? Specular and it's been so long I can't remember now. With PBR workflows, you move to a metallic and a roughness, which is on this side, whereas UE3 uses specular and what is the other one? Wow. Smurfberry says, yeah, the project is years old. It would be a lot of technical debt to port to UE4. Yeah, I understand that. Smurfberry says the plant is a bit modular. There are a few variants of the red part, the roots, and the little props that are sticking out of the side. Setting them all up in specific XYZ positions is a pain, so I'm doing it for them. Oh, okay. Do remember too, you can take advantage of instancing. I don't know about UE3, but I do know in UE4 you can instance stuff. I just can't remember if you could instance in UE3 or not, because it's so long ago. Gloss, thank you, Smurfberry Barbecue. Wow. Brain meltdown here, Phil. Yeah, so specular and gloss UE3 and metallic and roughness now for PBR materials in UE4. but still, I think that looks pretty good for UE3. As far as the look of the model goes, it looks nicer in UE4, but that's just because of the improvements that Epic have made to the lighting. But it still looks very cool, and I love the plant. So creepy, so creepy. When I first started using PBR materials and then getting used to the metallic and roughness, I thought it was harder than spec and gloss. But having worked with PBRs now, I find them better than spec gloss. They're pretty much the same, you know, guys. They're different workflows, but they behave the same sort of way. That's what I mean to say. But no, it looks cool. Very cool. Yeah, I was just curious myself. I wanted to see a larger version of a comparison between the two. I think it's come up pretty well in UE3, UDK. Not actually sure if you can still download UDK or anymore. I don't know. UE3 has prefabs. Okay, well there you go. Whereas UE4 you can do instancing. But again, instancing is something in UE4 you specifically have to do. It doesn't do it automatically. So, yeah. Snowberry says you have to find a secondary place to download the UDK installer. Oh, okay. Yeah, I use UDK. I like UDK. I use UE4. I like UE4. But I get it. If they developed a project using UDK, to then convert that to UE4 is a lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah. So I get it. This is what we're working on. We're working on this Temple of the Winds. We're going to finish texturing up some of the bits and pieces in Substance Painter. So just before I do that, we were working on the texturing for these side pieces yesterday. I should be able to just assign that texture to these other pieces because it should be exactly the same. Oh, wrong button. That's the one. That's the one I want. There we go. So I'm just going to assign that material there, and that all looks good. And let's assign it to this one as well. And we should be good to move on. Let me give Max something to lock onto so my viewport doesn't go all screwy. Okay, what do we work on next? I think maybe let's work on these terraces here, the smaller terraces at the front. Morak, hello Morak, it's good to see you. How are you? So yeah, good to see Morak. So yeah, I think maybe we'll work on these smaller terraces at the front. Good, staying awake at 3 a.m. Oh wow. Well, I'm grateful. Thank you, Morak, for staying awake at 3 a.m. in the morning to watch me. Wow, that's so late. You're a trooper. Thank you. Okay, let's make it interesting and not have me sitting here staring blankly at a screen. Let's send this over to Substance Painter. Let's just make sure we rename it properly first so that we know what we're working with. I'm going to call it Small Circle Terrace. I'm just going to copy that name so when we jump into Substance Painter I can call my texture the same thing. And now we can send it to Substance Painter. Yes, you always complain. Morek says, it's just the only cool time that I can be awake and thinking soberly without being melted or frosted by an AC. You know, I've mentioned to you guys before, I like working in the early hours of the morning because it's really quiet. Because I live in a city in Melbourne, so it's quite noisy all the time. So if you're sort of working in the early hours of the morning, it's so nice and quiet. Even though most times I either have my earphones in listening to music or music playing in the background. I don't know, it just feels different working in the early hours of the morning. I like it. It just depends though. Generally, if I've got to get up to have a meeting or something, then I can't afford to stay awake until 4 in the morning working. If I've got to go into the studio for a meeting in the morning. Let us bake out our maps. Bake all texture sets. There are 2 textures for this. There's a top and a side. Morak says melted by the heat, frosted by the AC. You can't win, can you? I am impressed at how quick this new bake out is in Substance Painter. It's very cool. Alrighty, let's rename these. This one's going to be small circle terrace underscore top. And this one will be small circle terrace underscore sides. There we go. Now, we should have a smart material already created for this, so let's have a look. Let's just do a filter by my, and let's see. So my terrace, what's this one? Yeah, the side's good. Okay, now I didn't have a smart material created for the top because I created a smart material. I created a shader inside of Alchemist for the top, so. Sniper Girl, it's good to see you, Sniper Girl. Hi to you too. Morak says, I'm working at the moment, so I won't be chatting much today. No problem. So long as you're here, that's the important thing. I wonder how Sniper Echo is going with everything. I haven't heard from him for a couple of days. Hope he's well. And I want to know what's going on with Legmog. I haven't seen Legmog for quite a while. How dare you, Morak, Sniper Girl says. That's okay. He can work while the stream's going in the background. Morak says, Phil, thank God at least I will be able to do a bit more actual 3D today. Well, I'm all for you guys doing 3D. Before we tackle the sides with this, actually, let's just do that. We're on the sides here at the moment. Let's double check. Yep. Let's drag in the sides smart material I created. Most of this material is hidden behind decorative pieces anyway. And I actually think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take it into Mari after we've finished the rest of the texturing of the model, because I just want to do a bit of an overpaint on it. We'll tackle that after we've finished the rest though. So let's jump back into our materials. And I created a smart material. Why do I keep saying that? I created a material in Alchemist that we're going to use, which is this one here. I actually created 3 versions of it. There's a clean version, a really heavily mossed version, and then a slightly less mossy version. We'll use a slightly less mossy version. Just before I do that, I might just reduce the tiling on the sides here a little bit, I think. Wrong one. That's the dirt layer. I don't know if you can see it. If I get in here a bit closer, it might be easier to see. That's the dirt layer I'm sort of adjusting here at the moment. But that's not the one I want to adjust. I want to adjust this one. I think that's a bit better. Or maybe we'll pull it back a little bit. That's a bit better. That is good. Now let's move on to the top. And we're going to use this slightly less mossy version of the material I made. Let's make some adjustments here now. Let's just remove this blank layer it creates automatically. Let's just offset it a little bit as well. Just going to scale it up a bit. I sometimes find these sliders in Substance Painter really fiddly. I don't know, they're a bit too extreme. Like you move it a small amount and it makes a really extreme change. I wish they'd sort of, I don't know, you can dial the amount in here, thank God. But yeah, they just seem to be a bit too sensitive, these sliders in Substance Painter for some reason. Maybe that's something Adobe can look at fixing or changing. Let's have a look at 0.8. No, we don't want that. Let's look at 0.7. 0.65. Morag says height slider. Yeah, or a height slider actually, yeah. Yeah, I just want them to be less sensitive. Just, you know, if I make a really small adjustment on the slider, I don't want a huge change in the texture. So they're too sensitive, these sliders. They always have been in this program. Again, we were talking yesterday about Mari and why I find it easier to use Mari, and part of the reason is I don't have these problems with these really sensitive sliders. Max has sliders as well, but they're nowhere near as sensitive as what the ones are in Painter for some reason. Okay, let's play with the offset a little bit. Minus 0.41. Now I've just got to try and work out how I want this pattern to look. See, my issue here is I would like this pattern here, this half circle, to be sort of cut about the middle instead of 3/4 the way in, which I could do, but to do that I would have to stretch the texture non-uniformly. Like I'd have to make an adjustment here in the tiling, which will start to stretch the circle, and I prefer not to do that unless I really had to. So while ideally that it being cut in the middle would be better, I don't think it's going to be too bad being cut 3/4 the way through with that circle in the background, as long as we can keep the overall circular shape. I think we should be good. Okay, well, considering we made all of this, pre-made all of this for the other part of the model, we don't have to really do anything more to it now. We can just save it and export it. Let's export the textures, and we're going to export them at 2K. That should be plenty big enough. Alrighty, let's close that down. Yes, alright, save, even though I just saved, I mean, you know. Let's bring them into Max. I will set up a DirectX shader for this one because I want to get the nice reflection happening on the tile, so it looks prettier for you guys and girls. So we'll pull in a DirectX shader. And change it to interactive. I'm actually going to have to pull in 2 shaders because we've got the sides and the top, they're both different. We'll do the second one in a minute. So let's load up the normal map. What was it called? Small Circle Terrace. Small Circle Terrace, that's the one we want. And let's start with the sides. Why not? So the normal map, always remember to override gamma to 1. if I just move this over a little bit, it might be easier for you to see what I'm doing. So yeah, just down here, it comes in automatic recommended, but if you're using the DirectX shader, make sure you override it to a value of 1. You generally have to do that too if you're using Eon View, normal maps in Eon View or anything. You need to override them as well. It may have changed with the new version of View. I haven't had a chance to play properly with the new version of View yet, because I've had other projects going that I haven't needed me to use Eon View, but I'll check that when we jump into View actually, when we start working with Eon View. So let's open up that one. Let's load up the color map, which is this one. Again, we're going to override the gamma on all of these. The metallic map, which is just black, I believe. I don't think there is any metallic in this image. We'll load it up anyway, why not? And the roughness map. Okay, let's turn them on. So use normal map to 1, use color map to 1, use metallic to 1, and use roughness to 1. We're going to make it unique. I'm going to open the shader. Edo says, is Phil doing 3D? I am doing 3D, Edo. You never would have guessed, would you? It's good to see you. How are you? Yes, Phil is doing 3D. Shock horror. Phil isn't just chatting. Let's export the graph, because if you're making it unique, you must export it. Otherwise, when you close this down, it's going to revert back to what it was. So just to keep those changes, you must save it. We're calling this one Small Circle Terrace. Yes, that's right. It's, Ito says, I think I'm going to try to play World of Warcraft Classic. Cool. And Sniper Girl says, you mean he's not just chatting this time? That's right. Ito says, I never played a game like that before. World of Warcraft, it's supposed to be very popular. I have not played it either. I have to be completely honest. I have never played World of Warcraft. I do know of it though. I'd have to be living under a rock not to know about World of Warcraft. Sniper Girl says to Edo, think it's a sign of the end of the world, right? Oh, you're all so cruel. So cruel. Let's, I'm just going to load up the bitmap for this DirectX shader. That just tells me what it is, because it doesn't give me it doesn't show me what the actual shader looks like. So by doing this, I can actually work out what it is. What the texture is, that is. You know what I mean. Okay, let's do another DirectX shader for the top. Actually, I don't need the sides to be a DirectX, so let's change this, shall we? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this texture to the top, because it's really only the glossy tiles at the top that I want to be a DirectX shader. And I'm just going to swap these out. So normal, color, metallic, which I think is this one, yes, and finally roughness. Edo says, some of my co-workers talked me into it. Yeah, actually I remember when I worked at the last game studio I worked at, one of the, what was his, I can't remember what his job was now. I think he was a level designer. He was really into World of Warcraft, and he wanted me to play World of Warcraft with him. But yeah, I purchased the game, but a sub for playing World of Warcraft, but never ended up playing. So, it's supposed to be a lot of fun. I'm not saying it's not. It's supposed to be fun. You know, it's very popular. It used to be. I'm not sure if it still is, but I'm assuming it still is. Morak says, I played it a bit, but it's not really something special for me anymore. To be honest, I'm getting kind of annoyed by the abnormous amount of World of Warcraft fan art and WoW-style art flooding multiple art communities on Discord I'm part of, and also DeviantArt. Yeah. Yeah, it's popular. People doing fan art, particularly for World of Warcraft, is popular. 2 years, a bit, Morag says. Oh, wow. So we're just going to create a standard shader for the sides. If I can find my standard shader, I'm going blind. Where are you? Where is it? Am I going blind? Where is my there we go. Wow. Bring in the bitmap and use the color texture for the bitmap. Make sure we turn show on in viewport. Morag says the bluish rainbow from the infinite padding. Smurfberry says, I'm not sure what that is, Smurfberry. I don't know how I should pronounce that. Drenny? Rainbow, Morag says. Sniper Girl says to Smurfberry, hi. Cookies, up with you. How are you, Cookie? It's good to see you. Edo says I should be completely done with this character by next week. Yes, and you guys jump into the Discord and look at Edo's. Oh, good. I see somebody else has put a thumbs up or a hands up or a because his character is looking really cool. In fact, we're going to look at it right now. I'm going to stop what I'm doing and we're going to check it out. This one is the one I want. So this is a character Edo is working on. He's popped these images into Discord, so I'm just going to copy the link for the three of them and we'll check it out. And because they look very cool. So Edo's been rigging the character, I believe. That's what we were talking about yesterday. You always do really, really nice work, Edo, or beautiful character work. I love the way you I love the design of the characters you do. I love the way you pose them in a silhouette. The silhouette's always really interesting, and I like your texturing work as well. So all up, really nice work. A really interesting character too. Beautiful work. So you guys should jump on the Discord server and check out Edo's work. He's posted a lot of stuff on Discord of characters he's done, and they've all been really great. I love them all. And yeah, we were talking about rigging yesterday and just how much it's the work of the devil, having to rig a character. It's looking great. Nice stuff. The love, Edo, that's right, the love. Smurfberry says it's like a drainy. Oh, okay, I think. They're a species from World of Warcraft. Morak was commenting on all the fan art. Oh, okay. That's right. Everyone, we love Edo's characters. Oh, he always does nice work. Morag says to Edo, so I haven't been doing this wasp, and suddenly a friend sent, yeah, and again, check out Morag's work as well on Discord. He's posted images to a wasp he's working on. Suddenly a friend sent me a link to Genome Workshop tutorial of a dude making insanely realistic insects. Now I'm sad how far I am from that. It can be dangerous to compare your work to other people. It can. I mean, it's always a good thing to do, because I mean, you know. But it can get depressing because there are such talented people around. There really are. There are some amazing artists in the world. But you have to keep that in mind too. This is in the world. So you're going to see the best of the best for the entire planet. So don't get discouraged if you see people's work that you think is better than yours. It's just you're comparing yourself to the entire world, to the best in the entire world. You know what I mean? Always keep that in mind. Or draining, Smurfberry says, okay. All right, we need to create a multi-material for this, so let's do that. We don't need 10 materials though, we only need 2. And I'm not completely sure which one is which, so we'll hook them up, we'll apply it, and if it's the wrong way around, we'll swap them. But I'm assuming that's going to be 1, and that's going to be 2. Mercury says that insect guy sounds familiar. We have our object selected, so let us assign the material. And wouldn't you know it, I have them the wrong way around. So let's fix that. And now we should be the right way around, and we are. And we get our nice specular happening here on the tile, which is what I wanted. So I make it nice and pretty just for you guys, just for you. It's all for you guys. And that's that, like I said, using those DirectX shaders is a good way to be able to see in Max's viewport exactly what it looked like in Substance Painter. It's only a visual thing. I mean, you're going to have to change the shader if you want to do a render, so it's really just so you can see it in the viewport more than anything. So I'm just going up from an aerial view now to see if I like this pattern we're going to be creating for the tiles, for the terraces or not. And yes, Cookie is talking to Sniper Girl. We were talking yesterday about whether you could save out alpha maps from Substance Painter, and Cookie popped on Discord and said you could, and explained how to Sniper Girl. So you guys check it out if you want to find out how to bake out an alpha map. Jump on the Discord server. You can always join the Discord. If say you're watching my stream back on a Friday or a Saturday, when I'm not live, it's a restream. Below my panel, below my stream in my panels, there's a little blue graphic that says join the Phil Does 3D Discord. You can click that at any time and get an invite link to join the Discord server that way, if you want. Edo says, I look at people's work, steal their technique and do it better. That's how I gain skill in a short amount of time. Well, you don't steal their technique, you're inspired by their technique. That's what you've got to say, Edo. Morek says, I wish I could do everything consistently on all levels, texture, model, environment, simulation, animation. It's just so hard to keep yourself at a constant level from where you left off. I've mentioned this before. I haven't mentioned it for a while, but my advice to people is don't become a jack of all trades and a master of none. Concentrate on doing one thing really well. Once you've mastered that, then you can start expanding into other areas. So don't try and be the best animator, the best texture artist, the best modeler. Don't try and do them all at once. Just concentrate on one thing you're most interested in, whether it's texturing, modeling, animating, character art, whatever. Practice that, do that, get that done really well, and once you've done that, then you can start looking at other areas as well. Because you're much more valuable as an employee for a studio if you're really good at doing one thing. If you're good at doing a lot of things, then you're even more valuable. I'm not saying it's it's a bad thing, but you must make sure you can do them well. If you can only do them half-assed, then you're better off concentrating on being able to do one thing really well. And Cookie says, I never look unless I'm tagged. Oh, thanks, Cookie. Can't be bothered with the Discord. Sniper Girl says, Edo says, also I love Blender now, it's great. Blender is great. Blender 2.8, the new version of Blender, is amazing. Again, I'm a Max person, I love Max, but Blender, a lot of the guys and girls that pop into my chat and watch my channel use Blender and they love it. Smurpery says he rigs his insects as well. You've got to rig them to get them to move properly, Smurpery. Sniper Girl says, hell freezes over, Cookie. Mr. Squarepeg, it's good to see you, Mr. Squarepeg. How are you? Edo says, also putting your game character in mum set doesn't count. Got to be in UE4 or Unity or you get no cred in the games industry. I'm not going to touch that one. I don't want to speak for all the game studios in the world. And Marmoset can be a really good tool if you want to get some nice renders of your model, and you don't want to have to set it up inside of a 3D program or use another rendering engine like V-Ray or Corona or whatever. Marmoset can be really helpful and really useful and quick and easy to use. So that's why I think a lot of people like Marmoset. I don't use Marmoset. I actually do it in my 3D program, and I generally do it in V-Ray if I'm doing beauty shots of my models. Yeah, that's usually what I do. I don't use Marmoset. Not saying that you shouldn't, I'm just saying that I don't. Just keeping an eye on OBS here, everything looks good. It's been in the green, no problems, good. But doing it in UE4 is certainly, if you want to work in a game studio, putting it in a game engine is a better way to go, for sure. You're going to get more cred doing it that way, that's for sure. Mr. Squarepeg says, doing good here. Good to hear, Mr. Squarepeg. I'm not sure if it's hot where you are in the world, but if it is, I hope you're staying cool. Edo says, yeah, Marmoset is great, but I've been told it doesn't count, sadly. I don't know about saying it doesn't count. It's not really meant... It's only meant as a way for you to show your model or in an image. That's really what it was made for. And it does that well. But yeah, if you're going for a games job, being able to show your model in a game engine it will be better for you. But if you're going for a film job, that doesn't really matter so much. Sniper Girl says, I honestly like Marmoset, it's fast to render. It is, and that's why a lot of people use it. And its real-time browser rendering is great. Yeah, I'm not going to knock Marmoset. I'm not going to say don't do your models in Marmoset to show them all, because it does a good job of it. I think what Edo is sort of talking about, though, is if you're going to go for a job in a game studio, it's going to be, they're going to remember your model more if you show them your model in a game engine like UE4 or Unity, because that's what you're going to be working with when you go to work for a game studio, unless they've got their own engine, which some of them do. So being able to show that to them right from the get-go shows them that you know how to take a model into a game engine, you know how to set up materials for it, all of that sort of stuff. I think that's basically where Edo's heading. But I'm not suggesting you don't use Marmoset to show your models off, because it's perfectly fine. If you want to put your images on ArtStation, that sort of thing, by all means use Marmoset. Yeah, but I don't use it for my work because I prefer to use V-Ray inside of Max to do a beauty shot. Like this model here, when I put it on in my 3D store on the Creative Market and on my shop on my website, I'll do the occlusion renders and the texture renders without the environment. I'll do all of that in V-Ray and Max. Just because I love V-Ray. That's what you're saying, Edo? Good. Yeah, I would agree. But there's nothing wrong with Marmoset at all. Okay, so yeah, basically what I'm doing here is I'm just looking at the pattern we've got going on here for the tiling to decide if I like it or not. So I'm just going to move around the model here a little bit and check it out, work out whether I think it looks okay or not. I think it might be interesting. It's hard for us to gauge completely until I get a texture on this smaller step. But I think it might be cool. Might look cool. All right, let's assign the texture to these pieces so we can look at it in all its glory, and that'll give us a better idea of whether we like it. And this one over here. Now you see what I mean by it starting to speed up. The texturing starts to speed up quite a bit now that we've actually created a lot of our smart materials. We can start reusing them. I think that's okay. I was worried it might get a bit busy, but I don't think it's looking too busy. I think it should be fine. Do bear in mind too, we are going to do an overpaint on some of these textures too once we get into Mari. I'm going to dirty them up a little bit. But I think that should be all right for what we want. I think that will work. Okay, let's do a quick save and then we can decide what we're going to work on to texture next. Sniper Girl says I use both Unreal and Marmoset. Individual assets I use Marmoset. Feel that it's good due to you can do 360 renders, 360 degree renders. And see the wireframe environments I use Unreal. There you go. Yep, look, I'm using Marmoset is fine. If you're going for a games job though, yeah, showing your models in a game engine is always a good thing to do. Like I said, it shows them you know how to use, how to bring your models in, how to set up your materials, all that sort of stuff. Because that's going to be part of what you do if you're working for a game studio. You're going to have to take your model into a game engine. Merkberry says, I'm actually a bit unhappy with Marmoset's browser renderer. It doesn't support all the stuff that the viewport supports. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Again, I don't use Marmoset, so I mean, I know of it, but I haven't used it. And Sniper Girl says that's true. Edo says I want Marmo, but I don't feel like buying it. Oh, okay. So here we go. Edo's bagging Marmoset now, and now now he wants a copy. Oh wow, Edo. And Smurfberry says, in my opinion, it's worth the price. Well, there you go. These are from people that use it. Oh, Edo, you got such a cheek. Bags the software and then wants a copy of it. All right, what are we going to work on next? I think we might look at the pond area because let's finish this off. There's a ring around the pond here that I want to texture up. And what I want to do though is I just want to select these so I can isolate this part of the model. To work out how high our water is going to be. And I forgot the other bit, so let's do that again. I want to grab... Come on, Max. Did I grab it already? Yes, okay. And I forgot the other bit. Okay. I also want to get this base. There we go. So, what I want to do here is work out how high the water is going to sit here, so then I can plan around my texture here for the water line. Because we're going to have water coming out of these line heads. So we're going to have a plant in the top and we're going to have water coming out of the sides. So I need to work out where the water line is going to sit here in the model. And I think... Okay, we can't have the water line go above the edge of the pond, so the water line is going to have to sit at least below that first rung, that first ledge there. And I think what I'll end up doing is have the water line sit maybe around about halfway up the edge here. So I'm just going to pull a plane into the viewport so I can better visualize that. Sniper Girl says, Dorito, it's on sale a lot. Smoker says, wow, I forgot the normal price. It's $189. Jesus, I would not pay that. I'm sorry, but I think that's outrageous. Just for something that, no, that's too much. They should not be charging that much for that software. Wow, 189 bucks. Sniper Girl says, I think it's worth the full price. That being said, anytime you can buy something at a discounted rate, then definitely do so. Yes, I agree. I wouldn't pay 189 bucks for it. I think that's a bit much. But then again, I don't use it, so maybe people that use it a lot think it's worth that can see the value in it, but I can't. Not for that money. So yeah, I'm just using this plane here to work out where I want my water line. And I'm thinking I want the water line to sit probably about here. So basically about where that circular top piece is here that's separate from the actual stairs here. I think that's probably a good spot to have the waterline. Around about there. So that means that that's going to be sitting in the water. Okay, so I'm just doing this so I can get an idea of how I want to texture it up. Okay, so I can get rid of that. While I have all this selected and it's easy for me to see, I'm just going to try and see how I want it, what texture I want to apply to this this top lip piece. Smokery says I use it all the time. Zotic, it's good to see you. Are you making a fountain? Yes, I'm actually making a Temple of the Winds terrace, which will have a fountain as part of it. So if I jump out of isolation mode, you can see the model we're working on. Yeah. So this is what we're making. I'm going to take this model into Eon View and I'm going to do beauty renders in a full-on 3D environment for it. And there will be fountain in the middle, and there'll be fire around the outside of these little pot things on the outside of the temple when we do the final render. That's the plan anyway. But yes, there will be a pond and a fountain in the middle. But it's good to see you, Zotic. So yeah, let's send this this top piece over to Substance Painter and we'll texture it up. I'm just going to try and work out what color I want to go here, what sort of texture I think I want here. It's going to be sitting in the water. Okay, let's send it over and let's see what substances we've got to play with. So let's open up our plugin. Let's see what it's called to make sure it's called something useful. Pond Top Border. That sounds good. I'm just going to copy the name so we can reuse it in Substance Painter. Just always complains the first time. I'm just going to do it again. Okay. Let us start by baking out our maps. Must remember to rename this texture as well. Okay, let's rename it. We're just going to call it Pond Top Border. And let's have a look at our materials and see what we can use. I'm just going to make them larger so we can all see them a bit better. Wow, that's the greenest of the green. That's so green. I wonder if we could change the color of that. Anyway, let's see what else we've got. We can come back to that. Edo says, the Sniper Gold, are you buying it for me? I don't know if Sniper Echo still has it, but Sniper Echo was actually had some free copies of Marmoset. Again, I haven't spoken to Sniper about it. This was a while ago, but he did mention that he was given some free copies of Marmoset. Just putting that out there. Not suggesting he's still got them, just saying he did have them at one stage. We could go with this tile, which is I think the one we used in the base of the pond, and then we used this one for halfway up the pond for like a ring border to make a bit more interest. I actually want to go with something, a third texture I think that's a little bit different from the other two. This is it. Let's see what this is. This is interesting. I haven't looked at this before. Okay, now it looks like I might have a bit of a problem with my UV mapping. So I think the first thing I need to do here is jump back into Max and check what's going on with the UV mapping. Actually, I'm just going to increase the tiling a little bit so Let's see if, yeah. You see the top ring here is messed up. UV maps are messed up, so I'm going to have to look at the UV mapping going on here. So let's close this down. No, I don't want to save that. You can discard it. I'm going to just go into isolation mode. There is an unwrap on it, so let me have a look at how it's been unwrapped. Okay. That's very odd, the way that's been unwrapped. It's not correct. This sort of thing, I probably don't need to take it into Rism UV. We could probably do this by hand here in Max. It's relatively simple, so let us do let's try Flatten Mapping. Okay. Pull that all to the side so we can see it a little bit better. I'm just going to check where these are. These are on the inside. So we're going to stitch these together so we don't get seam lines every quarter of the circle. Let's just turn off that one. There we go. Just trying to find where the matching seams are. Why is that proving so difficult? I'll just make sure I have the right options turned on here. What is going on? Why am I not getting my... Oh, there we go. I wonder why that's not working, or it wasn't working with the other... Let me just do that again. I just want to check that. Oh, it is. It's just... I couldn't see the blue. Okay. No problem. So let's stitch these together. Oh, let me just move that over so I can see it a bit better. There we go. Yeah, you miss Echoes, Edo. I do too. But he got a job in Germany, working in the theatre. So theatre productions, doing a technical director or technical person working in theatre production in Germany, and Sniper Echo lives in Ireland, so I imagine he's got a lot going on if he's moving from Ireland to Germany. Well, but it's really cool. It'd be really interesting work to do. So maybe that's the reason he's just been busy with everything going on there. Let's just stitch these ones together. And let's stitch these ones together. Smoker says it's also 3 AM in Germany. There you go. Yeah, I know. So yeah, maybe that's the reason. But I'm saying maybe he's busy organising everything to get everything ready for the move. Because yeah, it would be, a lot of work to get everything. I know if I had to up stakes from Australia and move overseas, it has so much to do. Morek says, I'm not alone. That's right. Sniper Echo will be moving to Germany soon, I'm assuming. I'm not sure exactly when he starts the new job, but yeah, from Ireland to Germany. and it will be really interesting type of work to do, like I said. But that's what I go back to when I said to you guys, if you're a 3D person, I don't know if he's doing 3D, but you can get work in so many different industries. You're not just sort of like stuck in games or film. You can work in so many different fields by being a 3D person, whether that's 3D characters or 3D environments or technical 3D or whatever. So many different places you can work. Okay, now while stitching all these together has given us, we're only going to have one seam, which is cool. It does mean that when we pack it, they're not going to take up a huge amount of the UV space, the 0 to 1 here. And it's the inside ring I'm more interested in than the top and the bottom of this circle, because most of this circle is hidden by the steps on the top and the pond below it. So it's really only the inside ring that's the most important. The bottom ring is not important at all because that's completely hidden. So what I'm going to do is just find out which one of the rings that is, which is this one here. And we are going to just temporarily move this off to the side. So the top ring is partly important because we do see just a small edge of it. So that's more important than that. But these are more important than the circle. Ida says, I'm loving the film industry. Good. Yes, no, working in film, I like working in film as well. It was fun. I like working in games. That was fun too. Well, I found working in games much more stressful than working in film, personally. Personally. They're both quite stressful at times, but yeah, the games industry, it can be incredibly stressful with deadlines. So for the outside ring, we're not going to see it all, so we don't really need that one to be prominent. I'm just going to move, again, that one off to the side over here. The inside ring is the most important. So we have a choice here as to whether we want to break this once in half or keep it as one, whether we want to have one seam or two. I think I'd rather have two seams and take more and take better advantage of the UV space than have one seam and have it too small. So I think what I might do is we might just break it once in half, or around about the middle. Send that off. So now we have two halves we can work with. I think that would be better. Morag says, all the optimizations make everything so much more complex. I love games because of the experience they give the players, but honestly, it's pretty stressful on the developer. Yeah, it is. Like I said, I've worked in games, I've worked in film, I work in ArchViz at the moment, which I love, by the way, as well. I love all 3D. So I've enjoyed working in all those different industries. I just say that I found probably games to be the most stressful industry of the three to work in. I don't know. I'm really not sure what I could say is the reason for that, whether it's the deadlines or the studios or what. The games industry seems a lot more, I don't know, let me choose my words carefully here. A lot more demanding of the worker and a little bit more cutthroat as well. As far as stress levels go, this is how I would rate. I would rate games the most stressful, working in film the next stressful, working in ArchViz below that, in that order. As far as personally stressful job goes. But they've all been fun to work in, and I'd work for another game studio and I'd work in film again. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I would. In fact, we are going to be working on a game after we finish this project, but that's a personal, that's I'm working on that for another studio with another group of people. We're going to release that game on Steam and on the Epic Games Store next year, the end of next year. But that's different. When you're working for a studio that you're like a part owner in, and making something with other people that are friends of yours, or that work in the studio with you, that's a different thing to working for a large studio, say EA or Ubisoft or anything like that, where they're really large studios. You only know the immediate people in your team. So. But I loved working in games. Games are fun. And Zotic says yes to Morag. Yes, indeed. Morag says, I'm stressed from just trying to get into a game studio. Okay. Well, looking for work can be stressful too. I'm not going to say it's not. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to scale this down, because again, we're not going to see this. This really is not important to us. We need to have it in our texture space. Well, we don't actually need to, but I'm bringing this into a game engine, so we do need to. If you weren't going to bring it into a game, you probably wouldn't even need to move it into your texture space, but we're going to bring that terrace into UE4 as part of the game we're working on. I'm just going to move this also in here and scale it right back, because this is the outside ring, which is never going to be seen. So now I have those scaled down really small. I can tell Max to do a repack for me. I don't want it to rescale the UVs, but I do want it to fill the holes and rotate the clusters. Actually, yeah, we'll see what it does with its rotation, but I want to keep these straight, horizontal. It moved them vertical, which is not good for me. So I'm just going to select this and rotate it. Because we need to keep it horizontal, so when we apply our texture, it applies it in the right direction. So again, I'm going to get it to... Actually, I'm not going to get it. I'm going to do it by hand. I don't trust Max to do it the right way. I'm going to scale this one up. Max's packing tool is pretty good. I'm not suggesting it's not, but I still prefer to do some things by hand. Let's scale this one up just a little bit. Making sure I stay in that 0 to 1 space, or we're going to have problems. Let's scale this one up just a little bit more. We do want to keep a little bit of space between them. We don't want any bleeding happening between the different UV pieces of geometry. And that means we can move these two into the middle. And that should be better. Okay, let's do it again. Let's send it back over to Substance Painter. Yes, I want to replace it. Zotic says, when I see people complaining against thing that they want to see in a game, thinking that it's something simple to do, but it doesn't. It's not simple to make the things that players want. No, it's not. It's really not. It goes for 3D as well. People look at a 3D model and think it's easy to make, or look at a model that's textured and think it's easy to texture. Those things are not easy. I mean, they're a skill that you've got to learn. People don't appreciate just how much work goes into anything that you have to make. And a game is a good example of that, because a game can be very complicated. All the different pieces, from programming to sound design, to art design, to texturing, to character design, to animation, all have to meld together properly. It's one of those interactive things. A game is an interactive art form that takes a huge amount of work. That's why I get concerned when I see people pop into my Twitch and say, oh, I'm going to make a game and it's going to be like, this massive MMO and it's going to be open world and you ask how many people are working on it. Oh, me and my friend. It's just not going to happen because there's too much work for so few people to do. You couldn't, unless you're going to take 10 years to make it, and by which time, whatever engine you're using is going to be outdated anyway. Because the games industry moves so quickly all the time. It's unrealistic, and people just it gets back to people not understanding how much work goes into a game. It's so much work, and that's why I think it's probably one of the most stressful businesses to be in, or industries to work in. Morak says, don't know why, but in substance, I like working with my mouse on drawn textures more than working with my tablet. What do you guys think? Yeah, look, I wouldn't disagree. I like working with the mouse. I mean, I like working with the tablet as well. I find working with the pen and having that pressure sensitivity can be really helpful. I tend to use the pen more when I'm working in Mari because I do more texture painting in Mari than I do in Substance. Substance, I don't texture paint a lot in, so that's probably why I don't tend to use the tablet. And again, using a tablet is an acquired skill as well. It's not something. It's something that will take you a few weeks to get used to. So if you do buy a tablet and start using it, do expect for it to feel weird to use for a few weeks. Once you get used to it, it's fine. And they are really useful. A Wacom tablet. Or any tablet, doesn't have to be Wacom. But I can't disagree, Morak. I get where you're coming from. Ido says people don't even know how hard it is to make a 3D rock look correct. No, they don't. They don't understand just how hard it is to UV map that 3D rock to look correct. No, people don't. They don't get it. If they don't work in 3D, they don't get it. They don't understand. It can be hard. Zotic, but it just takes practice. Like anything, the more you practice at it, the better you'll get. I'm just going to rename this. What are we calling this? What's this thing called again? We're going to call it. I'm going to call it Pond Top Border. There we go. That'll do. I'm just trying to work out what it's done here. What is that? Oh, okay. That's just, it's messed up because do you remember how I made the outside edge much smaller? That's the reason it looks messed up. The same at the bottom. But we're never seeing the bottom. We're never seeing the outside edge. We're only concerned with the inside edge. But why does that look like that as well? That's very strange. Which one of my maps is doing that? Just going to remove the ID map because we don't need that. Going to move the ambient occlusion. In fact, I'm just going to start removing these maps to try and work out which one is giving me this odd-looking texturing, shadowing. Zotic says, I always have an argument with some people because of that. I always have to explain to them that things they want are not so easy to do. Programmers have the same problem as well. People think programming is simple and it's not. It's not simple at all. It's the normal map that's causing an issue for some reason. I don't know why. Very strange. What could be causing that? I'm just going to jump back into Max. And I'm going to collapse my stack. But I'm just going to close this substance down because I want to resend it through again. It may even be because I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to throw down a reset on the X form. Again, I'm just going to collapse my stack. Going to make sure my pivot is actually in the middle of the model, which it is, which is good. And I'm going to rename the model from Pond Top Border to Pond Top Border 2. Just so when we do an export back to Substance, it creates a new Substance file. So let's do that again. Snoper says I'm probably like 85-15 tablet mouse. Edo says I find myself paint with my mouse a lot. If you've got a tablet, you should paint with your tablet. But no, listen, I've used the mouse on occasion to paint as well. So yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't. You certainly can. Okay, let's try baking this out again. Smurfberry says rocks. Sniper Girl says, honestly, I agree. Prefer to use the mouse in Painter, use tablet and everything else like that. Yeah, the mouse is, I find I use the mouse quite a lot. What is going on here? Why are you doing this? I wonder. I wonder. Yeah, let me go back into Max. Let me have a look at this. It may be because the UV mapping is flipped the wrong way. So let us throw down an unwrap. Might have been quicker for me to send it to Risem UV. And I'm just going to throw down a checker pattern. No, actually, I thought it might have been a problem with the direction of the unwrap, but that doesn't look like the problem to me. So what could it be? What could it be? Let me just double check again to make sure I do have the right ones in the right spot. Yes, that's the inside ring. That's the inside ring, so that's fine. That's the top, so that's fine. That's really, really odd. So when it does its bake out in Substance Painter, it's not baking out correctly. Morak says, rocks, you can scan that shit and reach Photogrammetry and bake them. Man, I wasted so many hours trying to make a good procedural texture that looks believable and sculpt them just to take a few photos and you're done. That's true. We have the real world for a reason. That's why photogrammetry is being used a lot more in games now. For that simple reason that you can get a photorealistic object much more quickly than doing it by hand. So I don't disagree, Morak. Edo says, most people can't even write an if statement. Programming is hard. It is hard. Sniper Girl says to Morak, honestly, yeah, agree. Scanning rocks is so much easier. And Edo says, like right now, I exported my pose into ZBrush and I'm using my mouse for the high details. That's fine. Look, you guys use what you're most comfortable with. Just because you got a tablet doesn't mean you got to use it. I mean, a bit of a waste if you don't make use of it. And it can, the tablet is really good if you want, because of the pen sensitivity. So if you want to go hard and soft and hard and, you know what I mean? If you want to make gradual adjustments to, if you're doing sculpting, to how much of a sculpt you're putting on the surface and that sort of thing, or if you're doing a texture paint, how much of the texture you want to lay down, they're really useful. But if what you're doing doesn't require that sort of sensitivity, then use the mouse. I mean, I use the mouse as well. I'm not saying I don't. Sniper Girl says, I've sculpted some before, not the most fun thing to do. I mean, I don't mind sculpting. Sculpting in ZBrush can be fun. But I'm more interested in the result than the process. So if it takes me, like say I want to sculpt a rock, if I can photograph the rock, do it through photogrammetry and have the rock in say, let's say an hour, as opposed to sculpting the rock by hand in ZBrush, and let's say that takes me 3 hours, I'm going to go the hour. and particularly when you're working for a business. Businesses work on time, and the quicker you can get something done, the better. So that's my reason for loving photogrammetry. That's the reason business loves photogrammetry as well, because artists can make stuff much more quickly. Well, I'm actually just going to throw a checkered texture on this ring. I've got to work out what is going on here. Let's try this one to begin with. Turn that off. There we go. Let's go with the smaller one. Might give me a better idea. Okay. That does not look like a problem to me. I mean, again, the texel density on the outside and the bottom is bigger because we're not going to see it. But the texel density here on the inner ring looks fine. I don't know why we're getting that issue in Substance Painter. It's very strange. Morex says, rocks, trees, I love them because they're all the beauty of nature. And Zotek says, I'm learning 3D modeling. I made a column and now I am learning stairs or trying. Oh, okay. Morex says to Zotek, what are you using? And Zotek is using Blender 2.8. Just started a week ago. Well, you know, don't get discouraged, particularly if you're new to the software. It'll take a little while for you to get used to it. Zotek. Morex says, not really proficient there. Just keep going, mate. It's really good and it has a future. It does. It's very good. And Epic Games just gave them $1.2 million, the Foundry organization, to develop Blender. So it's getting a lot of love from a lot of people. And Autodesk are worried about it because they've just released the indie license for Max and Maya. And they wouldn't have done that if they weren't worried that Blender might take away a lot of their customers. And it's free. So, you know, like I said, you can never get better than free. Blender is completely free. Smurfer says, make all 3 types of classic column. You really motivated, Zotek? Good. Morex says, I always wanted to make a good tree by hand, but good God, it's hard. Good God, it's hard. Yeah, it is. That's why I love Speed Tree so much. You can make really pretty trees really quickly. You don't want to use photogrammetry for a tree unless it's got no leaves on it or something. You're not going to be able to do photogrammetry on a leafed tree properly because the leaves are always moving. But if the tree is like dead or has no leaves on it, for sure. Smurfer says, oh my god, don't even get me started on trees. Edo says, I'm just learning Blender with you, man. Smurfer says, making trees by hand is a huge pain. Certainly is. That's why there are programs like Speed Tree or Plant Factory that do it using procedural stuff. I'm not saying you can't do it by hand, you can. But yeah, it's a lot of work. Zotic says, yeah, I'm getting a very good feedback. And Sniper Girl says, well, yes and no. Can always do photogrammetry on the trunk. Yes, you can. And use SpeedTree. Yeah, no, that's true. Because SpeedTree can incorporate photogrammetry now as well. So you can certainly use photogrammetry for the trunk or even part of the branches. And then you can use something like SpeedTree to put the final leaves and stuff on it for you as part of the node in SpeedTree. I'm going to try and work out why Substance Painter is having a problem with this model. I can't see the issue. I really can't. Just going to assign the plain texture to it again. Let's send it back over to Substance Painter. Let me apply a texture and see if the texture has a problem. Yes, I'm going to replace it. It's happening with the bakeout of the maps, and it's happening in the normal map bakeout. Now, it could be because the mesh is just not very high poly. In fact, I think I might have forgotten to soften the edges on this, and I hate a hard edge because it's really unnatural. So again, I'm going to just jump back into max. And we're going to chamfer up the edge here, the inside edge, because this is the one we see. We don't see the others. So I think what I'll do is I'll throw down an edit poly. Wrong one. And loop that edge so we've got a selection happening. And now let's throw down the chamfer modifier. This new chamfer modifier in Max is really nice, by the way, as well. It's the new one that they introduced in Max 2020. And it does a really nice job. We're going to go up to 3 segments. So we get a nice smooth edge happening there. Yeah, I could have beveled it. Zotic, yes, thank you Sniper Girl. There is the Discord that you can join, the Builders 3D Discord server. I haven't done that speech for a little while, so yes, again, I encourage you guys and girls that might be watching to join the Builders 3D Discord. There's sections there for your gallery, show up your work, sections where you can plug your ArtStation or your portfolio, tutorials and tips section, all that sort of thing. And a helpful group of people that will help you if you're ever having any problems. You can always post on the Discord server if I'm not streaming, and if I don't reply, one of the guys and girls on the Discord will, because they're all experts, aren't you guys? Morag says, yeah, but making it completely by hand, textures and all, don't know why I want to do that. My mind is, I think it's kind of like trying to compare yourself to nature as you create it. That's very true. It's a lot of work. Sometimes that can be fun though. Some people want to do that. Morag says, man, I'm weird. Ito says, bevel that bad boy. That's right. Because, yeah, hard edge is unnatural. There is nothing, unless it's a knife, nothing is hard edged and it looks really fake. So make sure if you're doing any renderings, you put a nice soft edge on your models. Bevel it, chamfer it. Soften it up. Where can I put my models? Zotek is asking, where can I put my, what do you mean, Zotek? On the Discord server, if you want to show off a render of what your models are, you can put them in the gallery section. You can show them off there. They don't have to be finished. If they're work in progress, you can put it in the gallery. If you've got an ArtStation or anything like that you want to link to, then you can link to that in the Folio and Demo Reels subchat. And then there's a tutorials section for tutorials that the guys and girls on the Discord have come across that are really useful and really helpful under the tutorials section. Alex, it's good to see you, Alex. Mick, is it Mick? Hey, MHIKK. How are you? Sorry, I'm going to say Mick, but if that's incorrect, I apologise. I'm really terrible with usernames. But Mick or MHIKK, hi to you too. Good to see you. Hito says I'm pro. And Alex, it's good to see you, Alex, as well. Do you like Tiny Bomb? What do you mean? What's Tiny Bomb? I'm not sure what Tiny Bomb is. Morek says, even knives don't have a truly hard edge. That's very true. Well, unless those are made with lasers and are sharpened by molecular sharpness, that goes away the first few times you use it, but it's, yeah, that's why they never have a really hard edge on anything. It's really unnatural. Regu. Hello to you, Regu. It's good to see you. What is Tiny Bomb? Am I missing something, or are you just being really weird, MHIKK? Mick. And Regu, it's good to see you. Remember, guys, if you enjoy the stream, to follow me on my Twitch channel because you'll get a reminder when I'm live. You can also follow my Twitter at PhilDoes3D because I always post when I go live. So I think that chamfer should be good. Nice soft edge for us now. Just going to collapse my stack again. And we're going to send this back over to Substance Painter. And I'm actually going to apply the texture. I'll do the bake out again I actually don't think I need to do a bake out for this because I'm only going to be applying one substance material. I'm not going to go overboard, I don't think, but let's bake them out. And let's see what it does. Yeah, it's something weird going on with the bake out. And it's the normal map that's doing it. I'm pretty sure it's the normal map. It's not just the normal map though. Just going to remove some of these that I don't think I'm going to need. Maybe it's the world space. No. Let's just do that again. I can't see any reason why it would be having such a problem with this mesh. I'm not going to take the ID because I don't need the ID. I'm going to turn off the world space normal as well. Yeah, that's really weird. I'm really not sure why it's doing that. Smippery says, "Oh, obsidian blades." That's right. Rhonda Snap says, "Hi there, glad to have finally caught you live." It's good to see you, Rhonda. How are you? You been well? And we're happy you're here as well, so thanks for popping in, Rhonda. Alex Beck says, "Did Sniper Girl finish that truck thing? I don't think I saw. Jump on the Discord server. She finished the truck. She's working on an environment for the truck now." Alex says, "The renders were looking good." They were. You're great, Rhonda. Good to hear. Yes. So, yeah, jump on the Discord server, Alex. She did finish the truck and now she's working on an environment for the truck. And she's posted images of her works in progress on Discord. Morek says, "Can you zoom in so I can see it?" Yes, certainly I can do that for you. Yeah, I don't understand what that's doing. Why did I get that audio message? Okay. And welcome, Zoto. You think it might be my GPU? Why do you say that? Rhonda says, "I've been really needing to learn 3D modeling. I make Snapchat lenses, and there's so many possibilities with 3D assets. Looks like GPU generated. Yeah, no, I don't think it is. It's actually it's not the GPU. I know that because if we jump back into Max here and we look at my model, if it was my GPU playing up, it would be happening here in Max as well, and it's not. So it's not the GPU. It's the way it's doing a bake out in Substance Painter. Somebody's drilling. It's driving me nuts. I can hear it in the background really faintly. You guys probably can't hear it, but distracting. Yeah, it's not to do with. It's something to do with the way it's doing its bake out here. For some reason, it's weird. Anyway, I'm going to ignore it. Now we're going to apply a texture to it so I can see if the texture is going to apply correctly. So I'm just going to find a material here, a substance we can lay down. Sometimes, Marek says, "Sometimes I think when you're running multiple shaders on and some things start biting, that it could be." Let's have a look here. There are no shaders on there though, Marek. It's completely empty at the moment. So that's yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. But I'm just going to apply a texture and we'll see if it can lay the texture down correctly or not. And we'll take it from there. And there is a texture I'm specifically looking for. This one here. Let's throw this down and have a look. Wow. I'm going to remove these maps temporarily. We're going to have a look. That is weird. That is so strange. I do not know what is going on there. Okay, let's do this, shall we? Let's discard this, jump back into Max. I'm gonna send this this piece over to Rism. We're gonna get it to UV map it in Rism. We'll see how we go from there. Let's see if there are any problems with the UV mapping happening in Max. So I'm just gonna turn that off. We're going to do an automatic unwrap here inside of Rism. It does it pretty much the same way Max does. That's why I didn't bother with using Rism initially. Let's send that back to Max again. Let's re-export it again back to Substance. Morex says it's weird. I'm not really sure know what that issue. No, I don't know either. Let's try and do another bake out here with the new UVs though. Let's see, that's still doing it. That is really strange. Really, really strange. I've never come across this before. Weird. Maura says, sometimes I think when you're running multiple shaders, something starts fighting. Alex Beck says, how easy is it to add lenses to SC? Morik says, yeah, it's weird. I'm not really sure. No, I don't know what it is either. Smurfer says, all I would think of it would be overlapping UVs, but I recall all your assets have unique UVs, so it couldn't be that. No, we just looked at the UVs. They're not overlapping. So that can't be the problem. Rhonda says to Alex, it's much easier than I ever expected. Lens Studio is very intuitive. Smurfer says, actually, wait, are any of the UVs stretching out beyond the 0 to 1 space? Yeah, no, they're not. And I know that because we just re-UV mapped it in Rism UV, so no, they're all in the 0 to 1. Alex says, this model is looking really cool since I last saw it, Phil. Been missing many of your streams. Well, thanks, Alex. Yeah. No, well, you're here now. That's the important thing. And I know it's hard sometimes for a lot of you guys to catch me, particularly if you're in Europe, because I know it's very early hours of the morning in Europe. Because I stream for my US viewers, which is like I start streaming at 5 p.m. US time. So I know that makes it hard for you guys in Europe, though. Morex says to Smurfer, even then I wouldn't. Alex says already. Use remesher on the model. Morex are suggesting that's it. Look, let's do this. Let's do a quantify in Max. Let's see if there might be a problem with the geometry of the model. You never know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to throw down a quantify mesh. I'm just temporarily going to turn on edged faces here so we can see what it's doing. Okay, now we can see what it's done. If I turn the modifier on and off, the original, which still looks fine, that mesh looks fine to me. I can't see a problem with it. And the quantified mesh I'm throwing on top of it. Let's send it back to Substance Painter and see what that does. Yes, I want to replace it. Snipper says, actually, retract that. I was thinking of a different thing with the texture I was using. Morik says, get another edit poly and collapse. Yeah, that could be an option we can try. I'm running out of ideas. I'm running out of ideas too. I've never, ever, ever come across this problem. Let's see what it does now, shall we? Making sure I'm giving it enough resolution to work with, so 2K should be plenty. I reckon it's going to do it again. And it is. That is just the strangest thing I've come across. Alrighty. Oh, let's do this. I'm going to jump into the top viewport. I'm going to recreate it again. So I'm going to just use a cylinder. Actually, I don't want a cylinder, I want a tube. So just let me get this sort of set up the way we want it, and then we can make some adjustments. So we wanted to have, let's give it, let's try 48 sides. Let's go a little bit higher. Let's go to 54. Just want to make sure I get the size about right. So radius 1 and radius 2. Come on, Max. There we go. No, you're going the wrong way. There we go. And let's just check the height value. So we want to pull down on the height a little bit. Okay. Well, let's leave it called Tube 008. But what I want to do is just going to isolate the tube. We're going to do another chamfer along the edge. So I'm going to throw an edit poly down. Just before I do that, actually, I'm going to reduce the height segments back to 1 because we don't need that many. I'm also going to turn off our edge spaces. Now we can throw an edit poly down, go into edge mode, select our edge. We want to loop the edge, throw down the chamfer modifier. I wonder, no, it was happening before we were using the chamfer modifier, wasn't it? Just wondering if the chamfer modifier is causing a problem. We're going to go to 3 and pull it back. Pull it back just a little bit more. Collapse the stack. Just as a quick test, I'm going to do an unwrap. I'm just going to get it to do a flatten mapping. And we're going to send this back over to Substance. And let's see what happens. Smurpery says, send me the ring, I'll bake it in marmoset for you. Smurpery says, bro, Phil makes it hard for West Coast people to watch. I don't do it on purpose. Okay, let's bake these maps out again and see what it does. Morak says, is there any chance you have a second channel on your UV? That's a good question, Morak, actually. That is a good question. I didn't check that. It shouldn't have a second channel. Smurpery says, I'm suddenly having flashbacks of early visions of Quixel's Baker being incompatible with my old AMD GPU. It looks just like that. It's just complaining about the ID map. We don't use the ID. See, now look, this is fine. There is no problem with this. So you tell me, guys, what the problem is. I'm just going to jump back into Max and I just want to check what Morak just suggested about having a second UV, whether there's a second UV on this. So I'm going to throw an unwrap, open up. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go into the channel info and check that. No, there is only one UV map, Morak, on the object, so it can't be a second UV set that was causing the issue. I don't know. I don't know what causes that. What that problem is with that mesh. Substance don't like it. Anyway, let's move on with this recreated piece that we've made. So again, I just want to find that substance of the tiles that I want to use. It should be down toward the bottom here. Come on, hurry up. Come on. Yeah, it worked. That's right. Smurpery says, I wonder if the modifiers are screwing up the vertex order or something. That's possible. Although I did collapse the stack, so yeah, I don't know. I collapsed the stack, so the modifiers were removed, and it still messed it up for some reason. Plugin resource update. No project open. Resource updated discarded. Could not find vertex colors. But yeah, see, look what it's done. It's done the same thing again. When I applied the substance to it. What is causing that? Or if the normals are flipped, I can check that as well. What did you use to get the window, to get that window out? I'm not sure what you mean, Morak. With the information is looked useful. Oh, that pops up automatically if there's an error. It's the log window. Ito says the good old remake never fails me. No, it failed me. Okay, well, I have one last suggestion. Is it possible it could be OBS? No, it's not. It's not OBS. OBS is on my second machine, not my main one here. So OBS is not even running on this computer. It's running on the second computer. So it's not OBS. That is so strange. So strange. The bake out this time looks fine, but let's try another texture. Just see if there's a different substance here that. Let's see what happens. Yeah, no, they're all doing it. Man, that is weird. I wonder. Let's do this, shall we? Let's do a test. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to export. Let me just go into isolation mode here so we know what we're working with. This is the original, I think. Yeah, this is the original, not the one we just remade. I'm going to export this. I'm going to export it as an FBX just onto my desktop. We're going to call it ring test. That should all be fine. Now I'm going to open up Substance outside of Max, so I'm not going to use that plugin. The plugin could be the problem. I've had problems with that plugin before. We're going to create a new project. DirectX. Well, let's add the mesh we just exported from Max. Where didn't I save it onto the desktop? Oh, hang on, what's going on here? Wrong one. It's the one we want. Okay, let's do a bake out. Now remember, this is the first one that was giving us problems, not the second one that I remade using Tube. So I'm just going to bake out the mesh again. And you see we don't have those problems we were getting before. Let's double check this now and let's throw down a substance. Let's wait for them to load up. I'm just looking for that tile texture again, the green tile. This one here. And look at that, no problem. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the problem is in that plugin that we're using to transfer the model between Max and Substance Painter. It's buggy. Doesn't surprise me. It was written a long time ago. It's free to download from Substance's website. Most of the time it works fine. You've seen me using it, but not in this case. In this case, the plugin is having a meltdown. So that's the problem with the plugin. That's all well and good, but now that means my original UV mapping was fine. So I'm going to have to revert it. Smurfrey says, do something stupid, simple like a cube. Now we've worked it out. I wonder if the plugin cached the file and kept importing the cached version. That's possible, actually, Smurfberry. That is possible. Yes, so it's the plugin that's the problem. But the problem is with your cache theory, we remade the asset so that it wouldn't use the same cache for a different asset. Remember, we remade it using a tube, and that even caused problems still. I think there's just an error in the plugin. When it saves the FBX file and before it sends it to Substance Painter, there's a problem going on there. I don't know why it's only happening with this asset. It didn't happen with any of the other assets we've been working with. The point being, though, yeah, I don't want this UV mapping. I want to go back to my original UV mapping. So that means I just need to remove the Quantify mesh and remove Rhizom's UV mapping. And if I do an unwrap, we should be back to our modified. This is the UV mapping I want. So now I can collapse my stack, re-export the FBX file. The only reason I'm using that plugin is because it just saves me this step of having to export the model and import it into Substance Painter. Back to Substance Painter. Create a new one, select our ring, rebake our maps, Smurfberry says, I've also seen com surrogate lock a file and then Substance can't override it when you want to save a new version. Yeah, software. This is, the joys of using computer software. No matter what it is, at some stage there's always a problem with every piece of software. Again, I'm just waiting for them to load up. And let's throw this substance down. And I'm just going to change the tiling. These sliders, they are so fiddly. And I've just got to try and work out the size of the tile I want based on the tile of the other parts that we've got in the model. Let's try tiling it to 7. I think that might be better. Okay, we have a bit of an issue here with, because we split it along the inside edge, it's using a different part of the substance, so I'm going to have to either offset it or just do a bit of a different UV map, move my UV maps, one of the two, either offset or move my UVs. I don't think we can offset it enough to remove that, so or I don't have to remap it if I use a different substance and I don't use this tile. So let's look at that first. It might be a better way to go. I want to look at this first. See what this texture is like. I'm just going to turn that one off underneath. So I'd like to have a different looking tile at the very top here. If possible. But again, we're going to have this problem of it lining up between the two halves here. And I don't think there is any way I can fix that apart from changing the UV mapping. Yes. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to jump back into max. I'm just going to change my UVs a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap these two. Just scale it up a bit. Oh, not quite that much. Now with the bake out, overlapping the UVs could cause issues, but I'm not so worried about that. I just want to make sure my two tiles line up on each half of the inside edge. Smurpery says, make it wood. I wonder if the plugin cached the file and kept... Smurpery says, Morag says, sometimes I wish I knew everything about computers. Don't we all? Would be nice. So yeah, I'm just going to overlap these two on top of each other. And let's just re-export that again. Let's jump back into Substance Painter. Now I've got to try and remember how to do this. There is a way to get it to re-import your mesh. Do you think I can? Because I haven't done it for a while. Do you think I can remember how to do it? It is here somewhere. Edit project configuration. Thank you very much. There we go. Now we have our tiles lined up along the inside edge, which is what I wanted. The top I'm not so concerned about because we're only seeing the very small edge of the top. But we can play around with a couple of things for the top anyway. It's the inside edge here I'm more worried. I was more concerned with getting lined up. I might just make a couple of small adjustments to make sure it's completely lined up correctly. 0.1, no. 0.3, too much. 0.25, no. 0.31, no. I'd use the slider, but it's much too fiddly using this slider. So I've got to do it by hand. 0.29, no. Ito says, I didn't know you could re-import the mesh. Yes, you can. This would have saved me so many times. Yes, it's handy being able to re-import the mesh in case you need to make some changes. 0.27. 0.28. Not quite. 0.275. No. 0.279. Oh, not quite. 0.28. 0.282. And that's probably good. That's centered it up. Morek says, I can use the cached movements of your mouse. I can also use the cached movements of your mouse you used on any hand-painted surface, but it's buggy. You can check into Discord to see what I mean. Okay. And that looks cool, Zotic, the column that you've been working on. Very nice. Morex posted an image of the wasp that he's working on. It looks very cool. Let's have a quick look at it, because I love looking at the stuff you guys are working on. That's why I'm on Twitch. So never think that you can't either interrupt me while I'm working and ask me a question, or just chat to me in chat, because I love chatting to you guys and I love looking at your work, and that is the whole reason I stream on Twitch, is to interact with you guys and to encourage you guys to do 3D. That's looking very cool. I love the texturing you were going on here on the eye. Looks very nice. The hairs. Did you bring up the spec a bit on the model, Morak? Because we were talking about it, about you pulling up a little bit on the spec. Yeah, that's better. And just missed that. That's just telling me I have a plumber coming tomorrow to fix some taps in my apartment. More shiny, Smurpery says. Yeah, I would have to agree. I think you should bring up the spec a bit more as well. I think it needs to be a bit shinier. Don't be afraid to pull up on that metallic and roughness. But it's looking very cool. Very cool indeed. It's going to make a good looking model. Smurfer says, yeah, it saves the movements in world space or from the camera view or something like that. So if you change the geometry a lot, it won't project correctly. Yeah, they do warn you in their docs on Adobe Substance's website that while you can re-import your mesh, if you're working with a lot of layers or a lot of shaders, it can cause problems. It might not reapply correctly, but I've never had a problem. I've found I've never had it not reapply correctly for me. It's always seemed to work pretty well. Let's save this file. I'm just going to save it in the temporary folder where I was putting the other ones that the plugin saved. And we're going to create a new folder and call it Pond in a Ring. And let's just call this Pond in a Ring. This is just so that if we need to come back and work on it, we can do it. How are we going for time? Oh, it's that time. I think we might have to leave it there for today. We'll jump back into max. We'll jump out of isolation mode. We'll get back into a position where we can see everything. And we might call it a day. I do want to thank you guys and girls though very much for hanging out with me, for watching and for being here. When we come back next week, when I'm back streaming again live on Monday next week, we will pick up where we left off. There's only a few more pieces left to texture up. The steps, a small part of the step on the terrace, and that's probably going to be pretty much it on the lines. But apart from that, then we're going to start jumping into Mari to do some texture painting in Mari, and then we're going to jump into Vue. But I do want to thank you guys, like I said, for hanging out. Thank you, Rhonda. I'm glad you like it. Thank you again, too, for being here. Remember, if you enjoyed the stream, please remember to follow my Twitch channel at PhilDoes3D. Also, remember to join the Discord server if you want. You can show off stuff in the gallery. You guys have a great weekend, though. Take care. Stay safe. And I will see you all again, hopefully, on Monday next week at 5 p.m. Pacific in the US. You guys have a great weekend and great week. See you guys.